Hey, this is Dr. Kara Dillon back again with anxiety disorders. There's going to be one more anxiety disorder after this one. This one is called agoraphobia, and this is part of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM-5. Agoraphobia has become a lot more well known in the last many years since mental illness has lost a lot of the stigma. We have a long ways to go with reducing stigma, but I think we're doing a lot better than we used to, and I really have to, applaud celebrities that have come forward and talked about their mental illness and mental health, because I think that's really opening up a chance for others to not admit, but to talk about things that are bothering them. Mental health is as important, if not more important, than physical health, and it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to react to it, and it is something that the law makes sure that you are not discriminated against because you have any type of mental health issue. And we are definitely living in a lot better society for that than it was 20 years ago. To take a mental health day is much more acceptable than it was 10, 20 years ago. Had you said that a decade ago, people would have said, oh boy, why do you need a mental health day? Are you nuts? Are you crazy? So I'm glad that we've made strides. We're just going to keep on going with that. So agoraphobia, I like to think of it as like the safe zone or the perceived safe zone for a person that has extreme anxiety. So according to DSM-5, if you're going to be diagnosed with agoraphobia, you would have to experience extreme anxiety in two of the following scenarios. So I really like the fact that the professionals have extended their definition of this, that it's not just simply homebound, but that you can have anxiety in a multitude of places, and that the safety area can be different from just home too. So two of the places that people have extreme anxiety, one would be on mass transportation, planes, ships, train, subway, bus, any of those would fit into that scenario. The number two is being in a wide open space. If you're on top of a bridge, if you're headed over that with your car, if you're in a stadium full of people watching a game, or if you're in a marketplace with people moving all about, those would be considered part of that. Number three is being in a closed building, a movie theater, a mall, a shop, a restaurant. I do think in some ways agoraphobia has increased since terrorist attacks and since kind of our nation changed in 2001. I notice, whether I'm on the subway in Chicago, or whether my daughter came home, she works at a movie theater, and said, hey mom, we had shooter training today at the movie theater. That would never have happened 10, 20 years ago. So, for us to see these things on television and to have anxiety about being in closed buildings or being at malls, it's definitely not unrealistic, but it can really limit your life too if you have such an extreme anxiety that you won't go to any of those places at any time. So number four is being with a group of people or standing in a line. That can also cause extreme anxiety. So people with agoraphobia kind of have three different issues that they worry about. One is that if they had a heart attack or if they went down, that there isn't help that's close enough to be able to come and save them, which they know that is illogical and irrational, but it doesn't take away the fear that they have with that. The other is that they won't be able to escape. If I'm in a plane that's full of people, or if I'm in a bus full of people, how am I going to get out if there's a problem? So they tend to have anxiety kind of wrapped around that idea that they wouldn't be able to get out of the place if they needed to. So individuals with agoraphobia tend to have a fear or anxiety a majority of the time that they're in that feared environment. So it's really uncomfortable for them to be in that situation because they really have a tough time not controlling, but trying to really balance out that anxiety. Therapy is very positive for people that have agoraphobia. Generally, if you work with somebody that's really talented in that area, they can help a person. Now, they can only help them if that person is really wanting to change and wanting things to be different. They know, people with this pretty much know that the fear is illogical and they have no basis in that. There's also individuals that have done illegal drugs, heroin, that type of thing. When they're withdrawing off of that, they may have very agoraphobic kind of symptoms with that, but that does not mean that they have agoraphobia. When you're diagnosed with these disorders, you would say, well, they have withdrawal off of heroin and they have agoraphobic like symptoms. So we don't really diagnose anybody with any mental illness if it's the result of something that's happened in life or a substance or a medicine like that. It's got to be kind of in its pure form. So we diagnose, or professionals diagnose, after a person has had this anxiety for about 6 months. The individual will have enough distress that it affects their work, their schooling, or their social life. They may not, if they're a parent, they may not go to their children's functions. Gotta love my dogs. And then this is different with different cultures too. So what I'm explaining is very much the United States and kind of the American diagnosis of it. Lastly, this used to be called the housewife's disorder because in the 50s and somewhat in the 60s, women used to spend an inordinate amount of time in the household, and therefore when they'd attempt to go out in society, they would start to have anxiety. Sometimes the anxiety is brought on by if a health issue or something goes wrong outside of the home. They can then begin to have panic attacks about that and worrying about that when they leave. So again, therapy is a really good tool for helping. Sometimes it's so extreme that the person needs medication, but the whole idea of agoraphobia is that they have a place or a location that they believe is safe, and they don't like going out in other places that increase that anxiety. So all right. Well, if you like the video, let me know. If you ever want to share stories about, please don't put any names, but if you ever want to talk about anybody that you know that's had this disorder, I would love that. I love being able to talk about people's stories and in the comment section. Just make sure you don't give any information that would let go of somebody's identity, because we want to make sure everybody is safe and that they're feeling good about their own privacy and personal information. So let me know, and please subscribe. And if you like the video, please hit the like button, and we'll continue on with anxiety disorders. Thank you.